Uncouth J says, with the kind of dynamic that you and Jamie Heineman displayed on our show Mythbusters, I imagine a fair few I told you so's going both ways. What are some of your favorites? No, rarely ever did I told you so's happen. And it's because of Jamie, almost entirely. The one that and it's really because Jamie lives in the moment. Yeah, no, that's real. I think that's the explanation. Jamie lives in the moment, and that's why there were no I told you so's in either direction. And the story I'll tell you is, we were doing the scuba diver gets sucked up by a firefighting helicopter, dropped in a flaming tree, and burnt to a crisp. That's one of the very early stories we did on the show, and I told the story a few weeks ago on the live stream, I think. I designed and built this extension of a several hundred horsepower outboard motor so I could extend its drive shaft and put it at the bottom of a pipe and mill down the propeller so it would suck water up that pipe and throw it out just like a firefighting helicopter sucker. And Jamie was out with the flu for a couple of weeks, but when he came back, his only job was to buy some rectangular steel hollow bar that the forklift tines would fit into to lift our rig and be able to raise and lower it in the pool. And he measured the forklift tines, he went and he ordered the steel, he welded up the thing, I attached them to my rig, and when we got out to the site, the forklift tines did not fit inside the steel bar because he hadn't measured those. And I was pissed. I was livid, but mostly I was livid because I was like, dude, you had one job on this. And he was like, all right, we can just put it on top and clamp it. I'm not saying he's not right. We did just put it on top and clamp it, and it was fine. But I was still really mad. He didn't even feel any responsibility for it. I mean, I know that he did, but at the same time, he was just like, no, he's living in the moment, moving on. So I stopped complaining at that point. It's going to land on deaf ears. Ian M. contributed super chat. Oh, I see. Ian M. contributed to our super chat. Thank you. And asks, as a mentor slash teacher, how do you get people to believe in themselves and encourage them to take those first steps into a new process and skill set? You use their own enthusiasm. I mean, you're asking such a deep question. How do you get people to believe in themselves? You see them. Yeah, that's the first thing. You see them. It's hard to conclude there's a more important thing that we can do for each other than see each other as clearly as we can. And I think that so much early trauma happens from not feeling seen in different groups in different situations. But by seeing somebody, I mean really connecting with them where they are. And so everyone brings their own obstacles to their ability to kind of get to their aesthetic core. We all have this. And to me, the most important thing you can do is show no gates, no gatekeeping, that the threshold to entry is zero. You know, I once wanted to learn a new skill, and I had a friend who was a master practitioner of this skill. And I found a thing in this. I'm going to be circumspect about this because I don't want to name and shame anybody. I knew a master practitioner of this skill. I found a version of this thing that I wanted to try out, and I told them, I texted them and was like, I'm going to learn this. I'm trying to learn this skill, and I'm trying to learn it under this framework. And they were like, that's not the framework. Like, that's the wrong framework you're using. That's not the right way to encourage somebody. That is the wrong way. That is the wrong way to get people to believe in themselves and encourage them. because I immediately felt shame. I'm talking to a master at this craft and they're like, wrong. That's bullshit. That's just like, I don't have time for that. That's like, you could do it that way, but you're wrong, as opposed to, I love your enthusiasm. That trick, that thing that you want to do, that technique you want to learn, it's a little beyond you. You don't see that yet. Let me shepherd you through the early stages so that you could understand this technique. Or, yes, go try it. Come back to me after a while when you've learned exactly why this isn't the right thing for you to start with. And there's so many frames, but in improv, in comedy improv, the central ethos of comedy improv, the kind of which they practice on Groundlings, etc., Second Cities, SNL, Mad TV, SCTV, name your amazing group. The central ethos of all of improv is yes, and. And that's the opposite of no, but. Yes, and is take everything in and add to it. That's how potentially you can start to help people believe in themselves. You can't get them to do it. That's their journey. You can be an assistant. You can be a good compatriot along the way. But we can't do that for anybody else. We can build some structures and we can show the love, and well, after that we can only hope. Tammy Makes Things says, I've noticed that as I age, I struggle to do some of the maker things that used to be easy for me. I have less physical strength now, poorer eyesight, etc. Is this something you've experienced? And if so, do you have any strategies that help you? Yeah, growing old sucks. No, Richard Taylor from Weta Workshop and I were talking about this a couple of years ago, where he was like, I was not prepared for the loss of muscle mass. It is really, really rough. A few months ago, I encountered a bottle that I couldn't open, a jar that I couldn't open. That's literally a first for me. I have always been just a little bit stronger than you expect. That's always been my strength profile. A little bit stronger than you think. I've always been pretty strong. This interface, right? These two appendages, this is my whole interface with the world. And it's well developed and it's deteriorating. I can feel it. We're all on that long slide, Tammy Makes Things. There's a couple things I take solace in. One is I don't have to go at the pace that I've been going at. I can slowly slow down and kind of match what my output is capable of. The other thing is, it is that thing of like why youth is wasted on the young, because you don't realize how perfect your young body is until you've grown out of it. For some reason, your question coughed up a quote from Carlos Castaneda that I really like, which is towards the end of Carlos Castaneda's books are a fictional chronicle of his lessons with a mystic teacher. But they're beautiful allegories. And there is, towards the end of the journey he takes with his teacher, and he takes it over 7 or 8 books. And these books are really important to me. I read all of them as a late teenager and in my early 20s. And so did Mr. Heinemann, of all people. Anyway, late in his training, Castaneda's teacher, Don Juan, says to him, it is time to take your place among the mysteries and to regard yourself as one of them. I really dig that. As when I think about growing older and I think about this frame, this reality, this phase, and I'm, so grateful for the life I have gotten to live, for the life I get to live, for the people I get to work with, and the people I get to love. I'm so grateful for that. I love the idea. It is time to take your place among the mysteries. And to me, I hear It's time to realize you're part of the continuum of humanity, going back to the earliest moments when we had sentient thought, and to regard yourself as one of them. To regard yourself as one of them says to me, I hear, you're not going to figure everything out. It's not all going to be revealed to you, and you got to be okay with that. You're only going to see a small slice of the whole thing, and that's all you're ever going to see. I know you didn't ask a question about death. Tammy makes things, but I felt like that was what the hidden structure of your question was. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support us even further, you can by becoming a tested member. Details are, of course, below, but it includes all sorts of perks, and we're building them all the time. You get advanced word and behind-the-scenes photos of some of our projects. Questions, you get to ask direct questions during my live streams, and we have some members-only videos, including the Adam real-time series of unbroken, unedited shots of me working here in the shop. They are weirdly meditative. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you on the next one.